saying goodbye to a pet is tough, really tough.
It is.
But when it happens suddenly,
Yeah.
it can be even harder to process,
Absolutely.
Today, we're going to be looking at this topic, sudden pet loss.
Right.
We're diving deep into a speech that tackles this.
Okay.
It's something that, unfortunately, a lot of pet owners experience.
Sadly. Yes.
So we wanted to explore it.
Good idea.
Hopefully offer some insights.
Yeah.
Some understanding, maybe even some comfort to those who might be dealing with this right now.
I think that's important.
I mean, it's that sudden absence. It can really throw you.
It can be so disorienting.
Your pet's been there every day,
Yeah.
the constant in your life. And then suddenly,
They're gone.
it's like a piece of your routine is just gone.
Absolutely. And it's not just the routine.
No.
It impacts your emotions.
Absolutely.
Your whole emotional landscape shifts.
It does. You might find yourself sleeping differently.
Yeah.
Your appetite changes.
Exactly.
You might even feel disoriented, just generally.
It's common.
I think it really highlights how closely our lives are tied to our pets.
Oh, for sure.
The speech even compares it to losing a member of your family.
I can see that.
And I think that feeling of a void is something a lot of us can relate to, whether we've personally gone through it or not.
Definitely. And when the loss is so sudden,
Yeah.
that void can feel even deeper,
It's like a shock to the system.
Exactly.
And that's something the speech talks about too. Some of the common causes of sudden pet loss.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it can be a bit scary
It can be.
because it could be anything, really. Heart conditions,
Yeah.
poisoning, or even underlying illnesses that weren't caught.
Unfortunately, that happens too.
It's just a reminder that these things can happen, often without any warning.
It's true.
Yeah.
For example, with older dogs,
Yeah.
we see a lot of heart problems.
Like what kind?
Things like dilated cardiomyopathy, which weakens the heart muscle. And then younger pups, well, they can be susceptible to parvovirus.
That's the really contagious one, right?
It is. And it can be fatal, especially if they haven't had all their vaccinations.
Makes sense. But there are other things too, right? Things that are harder to spot no matter the age or breed.
Yeah, definitely.
So it just seems like even though regular vet visits are important,
They are.
there's still a lot that's out of our control.
There is.
And I think that could be hard to accept
I understand that.
because it's easy to get caught up in the what ifs and could I have done mores?
It's a natural response.
And that guilt, that must be so hard to deal with.
It's definitely a common emotion. But I think it's important to remember that.
Yeah,
We can't blame ourselves for everything.
that's easier said than done, I think.
Oh, it is, for sure.
Yeah.
But even with the best care,
Yeah.
sometimes these things happen.
And that's when vets become even more crucial, right?
They are.
Not just for medical care, but for that emotional support too.
Exactly.
The speech touched on that as well. How vets can help owners understand, what happened.
It can be a big part of finding closure.
But you mentioned emotional support too. What does that look like?
Well, vets are often the first people you see when a pet passes, especially when it's sudden.
That's true.
They witness the grief, the confusion,
Yeah.
and they're trained to help owners through it.
So what do?
They offer explanations, they provide resources,
Okay.
they just offer a compassionate ear.
So it's not always about having all the answers.
Sometimes, even with tests, the exact cause is a mystery.
That must be hard.
It can be.
But you said vets can offer closure, even then.
They can.
How does that work? Because I'd imagine it's hard to feel at peace when there are still so many unknowns.
It's true. Sometimes we can only give possibilities,
Right.
but that can still be helpful.
How so?
It can rule things out.
Like what?
Fears, like a missed symptom or a late diagnosis.
That makes sense.
That can provide a lot of relief for owners.
I bet it does.
Yeah.
So it's about comfort.
It is. It's about offering support, even when we can't give concrete answers.
So it's like taking away some of that guilt you mentioned before.
Exactly.
Helping owners realize they did what they could.
Precisely.
It just reinforces how important it is to reach out for support during those times.
It's crucial.
Whether it's your vet, friends, family, or even pet loss support groups.
There are some great ones out there.
Allowing yourself to grieve is so important.
It is. It's part of healing.
And speaking of healing,
Yeah.
the speech really stresses cherishing the memories,
Absolutely.
focusing on the joy our pets brought into our lives.
That's so important.
It's easy to get lost in the sadness,
Yeah.
but those happy moments, the silly things that made your pet unique,
Right.
those are the things that keep their memory alive.
Think about those early morning snuggles. The way your dog would go crazy when you got home.
Both of them.
Your cat purring on your lap.
Yeah.
All those little things add up.
They really do.
They create this bond, this tapestry of memories.
And finding comfort in those memories.
Yeah.
That's what can bring a smile to your face, even when you're sad.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been, honestly, a bit of a tough conversation.
It's a sensitive topic.
But it's important to talk about these things.
I agree.
As we wrap up here. I want to leave you with this. Think about those special moments you shared with your pet.
Okay.
The ones that no one else could ever replicate.
I like that.
How can you use those memories to find comfort?
That's a good question.
How can you keep their memory alive?
It's a journey for sure.
It is. And it's okay to take your time.
Absolutely.
Just remember, you don't have to go through it alone.
There's always support out there.
Always.
Always.